Hey out there to anybody watching, this is Engineering Symbiosis AD, and for those of you who have been subscribing to my channel, you know that I've rebranded Sedonic Systems to Symbionics over Sustainability, and now finally to Engineering Symbiosis AD. I didn't have the time to put together a lecture video that I normally would put together in the sense of a slideshow, because of a constraint of time, and I got two new puppies with my family, so been dealing with that and looking for a job and a lot of other stuff on my plate. But yeah, so I just wanted to make a quick recording because I just wanted to briefly touch on the subject for a few moments. Um, I'm not really into the whole TikTok streaming style of communication. I'd rather have a pre slideshow or type of lecture style video all ready to go during the recording. But again, like I said before, I haven't had the time. But I just want to call this few minute one. The U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, the Strait of Hormuz economic energy crisis, and the death of sustainability and biomimicry. Now, anyone who studied sustainability and green technology for a long time knows that it's pretty much wedded to green capitalism. The idea that we'll somehow make more optimal, clean industries that are somehow still tied to extractive, heavy industries and financial industries that are incentivized short-term thinking and rely on extremely volatile global supply chains that will somehow be optimized to only be ecologically benign instead of actually ecologically regenerative or um, ecologically repairing or remediative, if you'd like. Um, Yeah, I honestly do think that the illegal U.S.-Israeli war in Iran is in the process of causing a severe economic oil shortage that, according to the Guardian, is already going to be worse than the 1970s OPEC oil crisis. Uh, I'm I'm almost certain that you're going to see traditional sustainability and so-called clean energy companies hemorrhage their assets because they're being stranded and they're so dependent on local supply chains. I could even see people in the traditional sustainability and green energy sectors being like, if only somebody had thought of a methodology not dependent on long lines of supply chains and creating everything from scratch and had a method for retrofitting our existing infrastructure so that we didn't have to start everything from scratch and import a whole new material. Yeah, I wonder who did that. Symbionics. But yeah, so I really do think that the Strait of Hormuz energy crisis caused by this illegal war on Iran by the rogue U.S. and Israel are is going to cause the death of sustainability and biomimicry, and I believe we're seeing that in real time. Biomimicry has adopted the business model of business consultancy, and if you look on Ontario's most successful um, biomimicry consultancy, Biomimicry Frontiers, or the Biomimicry Commons, their most recent business project in India has been deferred because of the ongoing economic and oil crisis that's happening across the world. And this has been known for a long time. This isn't a secret. Those who are into deep ecology and alternative green technology know, and alternative ecological technology, excuse me, have known for a long time the dirty cost of so-called clean technology, which we know isn't really clean at all. It's just a way for capitalism to redress itself into EVs, into so-called carbon capture, to make it look like they're actually doing something without changing the overall high extractive endless linear growth that defines globalized capitalism even in decay. And they're really just trying to put lipstick on a pig, if I can use a metaphor. It's they're not really doing. We all know they're not really doing anything to actually save the planet. And and if anything, really, I'm of the opinion half the time they're usually just doing things like carbon credits and things of that nature to make it look like they're doing something on paper, but not really. And honestly, it does feel like they're using that and putting the cost of those really those financial schemes onto the poor and working class to turn them against the little bit of environmental protection we have left, and to just give a free rein for the oil companies and high tech Silicon Valley big tech companies that are rallying against uh, alternative environmental technology initiatives to actually push back against this new wave of hyper extractive economic nationalism that's basically putting an end to globalization, but now is causing the capitalist powers to break into competing economic blocks again, e.g., the remaining of the G7 versus the US and the BRICS alliance. Again, so I think that except in countries like China, Cuba, and New Zealand, where they've had long term planning for conversion of industry and energy toward more than just surface level things like solar, wind, and forms of carbon capture, maybe through uh, weird geoengineering schemes or planting trees. Which again, I'm not saying, I have never on this channel said all of sustainability or biomimicry is bad, but you're seeing the effects of the Strait of Hormuz energy crisis really put the death note to them because they're dependent upon oil inputs, or what is often called the petrol sustainability lock and paradox. And because I've actually developed a means to retrofit existing oil infrastructure that's stranded into uh, photocatalytic bioreactor refineries, or what I call the symbiotic photocatalytic biofuel reactor and refinery. I'll get in. That'll probably be what my next lecture video will be on. Is how I intend to convert all existing oil infrastructure into biofuel production, and instead of using the traditional polyculture for biofuel crops, I have an alternative polyculture and excuse me, polycultural and agroecological method for biofuel crops that don't erode the soil and don't destroy the biodiversity of the soils or the surrounding ecosystems, and don't cause competition between the individual um, biofuel crops themselves for few nutrients, the few nutrients, the few sources of nutrients, excuse me, or nutrient gradients that exist in most soils in monoculture crops. So yeah, that's basically my take, that the Strait of Hormuz energy crisis is basically going to slowly kill sustainability and biomimicry. And again, I can see the news articles in a few days and weeks now for the people who are actually looking to design an alternative that aren't just EVs, that aren't just solar panels, that don't really actually change the hyper extractive, hyper consumerist, linear, wasteful system that isn't going to green or blue itself. Speaking about the oceans now. So yeah, I really do think this has actually opened up an opportunity for my body of three, aka Symbionics, or urban ecological niche prosthetics, which I've changed from urban ecological niche prosthetics instead of urban ecological niche bionics. For those of you who haven't seen my fourth lecture video, but yeah, so that's my take on how the U.S.-Israeli war in Iran has caused the Strait of Hormuz energy crisis, which has in turn killed biomimicry and sustainability models as we know it, because they are inherently tied to green capitalism and linear consumerism and high extractive industry. Whereas I have based Symbionics, or urban ecological niche prosthetics, off of the retrofitting of all existing buildings and already existing assets, which brings down the cost of the implementation of Symbionics over traditional sustainability and biomimetic technologies by magnitudes of orders. And because I'm not having to start everything from scratch and rely on super vulnerable supply lines that you're seeing affected today. And even if the war ends tomorrow and a peace treaty is signed, it's going to take them months to clear the wreckage in the Strait of Hormuz, the few ships that have been sinking, and the few military vessels that have been damaged so far, and it's not even over yet. And the majority of artificial intelligence infrastructure development was being subsidized by the Gulf states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, to the United States and the European Union and the West. And now they are heavily being affected because of the damage to the gas fields there. So, yeah. And people are going to be asking if only there was an alternative that wasn't reliant on this super extractive, wasteful, consumerist system, completely vulnerable to the slightest geopolitical instability, like a cargo ship stuck in the Suez Canal sideways, and now a global regional turning into global war, strangulating green capitalism, aka sustainability, which isn't really sustainable at all. Alright, guys, have a good night, and thank you for listening to my rambles.